Story broke a little bit earlier this week, and I want to invite in here Nasser Pasha from AskPasha.com, Top Floor Legal in San Diego. And Pasha and I actually were having an email conversation. That's why I said, hey, man, why don't you come on the show and let's talk about this? And that is the lawsuit that's going on against Ford. Pasha, talk to me a little bit about this. Explain this to me when it comes to the fuel mileage and why Ford might be in a little bit of trouble.
Hey, Chris. Yeah, so what's happening here is they report the miles per gallon for Ford, of course, and one of the consumers in California is actually suing them under a class action lawsuit for false advertising.
Now, why? They put up the fuel miles and they say that they're not accurate?
Yeah, that's right. So what happens is the EPA standardizes how you report miles per gallon. But believe it or not, these numbers that you see on the side of those windows are probably from Ford or the manufacturer directly, because the EPA only tests about 10 to 15% of the reported cars.
Why is it that we rely then on the manufacturer? I mean, why do we have the EPA that's supposed to be monitoring this stuff if they're only doing 15% of them?
That's probably a question for the legislature, but I'll tell you, not only that, is the plaintiffs allege in this case that the EPA, when they do test it, they don't test it under normal driving conditions, and they say that they even use a more efficient fuel in their test.
The EPA uses more efficient fuel?
That's what the plaintiffs are alleging in this case. And,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, why do they do? Is it, the EPA use more efficient fuel because they don't want to pollute more? I guess I don't understand why they would do that. Or is it to try to tip in the favor of the manufacturers?
You know what? I have no idea, but I'll tell you this, is that Consumer Reports is what kind of made the basis for this lawsuit.
Okay.
And they reported that the miles per gallon in this case was about 10 under what was reported.
Wow.
So the judge or the court in this case is going to have to determine what we call is the battle of the experts. Each side brings their science, and we'll see where the dice winds up.
Okay, so what we've got then is we've got numbers that are coming in low, and then you're going to have consumers' reports that's going to come in and they're going to go, we tested it, the numbers are low under average driving conditions. And Ford is going to come in and say, we've got our experts, and our experts found that the numbers are right on based on normal driving conditions. So how does the judge then decide if you've got a battle of experts? Does the judge have to decide what is and is not normal?
Well, this is going to be a jury question. But you got it, though. How accurate and the definition of that accuracy is where the rubber meets the road. So now the plaintiffs in this case, they're suing under a very powerful statute, Business Professions Code 17200. That gives consumers recourse against unfair business practices like false advertising.
Okay.
Now, Ford in this case, they say that their hybrid delivers EPA-certified 47 miles per gallon city highway combined, up to 7 miles per gallon better than the Prius 5. Now it's up to a jury to decide whether Consumers Report's finding of 37 miles per gallon versus 47 makes this advertising false or at the least misleading.
Okay, and that's the next question I had, is that you've got Ford that says 47, you've got Consumers Reports that says 37, and they both say it's normal driving conditions, but my normal driving conditions might be completely different anyway because I'm the a-hole in the left-hand lane that is trying to speed up the 5 past Manchester at 80 miles an hour. So my normal driving conditions are completely different, and then I have to hit my brakes real hard because somebody driving in front of me is high.
Yeah, I'm sure the EPA and other manufacturers have their definition of what normal driving conditions is. But I think it's going to come down to what does the consumer expect? What is their reasonable understanding of normal driving conditions? And if the EPA tests in a lab, which they do, and the Consumer Reports, from what I've read, they actually drive a car in a predefined course in Connecticut and on actual streets, and that's a big difference.
When I want to talk to you a little bit here, Pasha, from AskPasha.com. If you've got business legal questions, incidentally, go to AskPasha.com. He is our go-to business law consultant here on the Voice of Merrill and from Top Floor Legal. So, Pasha, you've got the situation where Ford is saying one thing, and then Consumers Reports is saying another thing, but we have sort of drawn these different conclusions about what to expect from American large businesses versus nonprofits. We tend to herald nonprofits, and then we say big business bad. So how much is that image going to come into effect when the jury is trying to put this together? Do they go in there with a preconceived notion that big business is trying to take advantage of people, but a nonprofit like Consumers Reports is out there fighting for the little guy? Is that going to play into this, the sort of the media brand that they've been given?
Well, I'm sure this consumer's attorney in this class action lawsuit is going to make that case. And, in some cases, it's going to be compelling because here Consumer Reports supposedly doesn't have a real interest as to the result. Where Ford, I mean, look, if you're reporting that you have one of the best miles per gallon cars out there, that's pretty huge when it comes to marketing and advertising, which is a lesson for most businesses. When you're advertising, relying upon whether it's the EPA or other businesses in your competition on how you set the standards of legal risk protection is not a good idea.
Pasha, I look at this and I go, Ford's got a buttload of money and they've got some really high-powered attorneys. Because they are a large American business, I'm sure they get sued all the time. For one reason or another, I'm sure they get lawsuits all the time. And that shouldn't go against them. And you shouldn't say, oh, they get sued, they must be doing something wrong. It happens with big businesses in America every single day. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. If you're a business, especially if you're on top, you're a target. It's definitely something that I experienced.
And then you've got Consumers Power. You've got Consumers Reports that doesn't seem to have a whole lot of disposable income because they're a not-for-profit magazine, right? So you've got high-powered attorneys and you've got Consumers Reports. Do we have a David versus Goliath? And what is Goliath going to use as their defense coming into this? What are those big-shot lawyers going to do when they come in and say, this is the way it is?
Well, first, Ford's going to be fine no matter what, like you said. And if not, we'll do our part to bail them out again. But,
we didn't bail Ford out the first time. Hang on now. They still have a get-out-of-jail-free card.
That's true. So let me take that back. But Ford will bring, of course, their big guns and defenses. But there's a relevant case here in California. So there's this internet service provider that advertised. I'm not going to name their name. They advertise up to 3 megabytes per second for download speed. In reality, consumers were getting around half of that.
Okay.
The courts, in that case, did not find an unfair business practice because of that up to language. Now, you're at the car show, right?
Yeah.
You've seen those fuel economy stickers on the side of those windows, or at the car show, they have it on the displays, right?
Yeah.
So now in that fine print, you see something that says, actual results may vary when it comes to those miles per gallon.
Okay.
And that single statement is huge. That fine print might actually make the difference in this case. Proof that attorneys do actually have a purpose.
I thought attorneys were an alternative to throwing my money away at the casino. So this is great, Pasha. It's excellent. Pasha, go to AskPasha.com if you've got business questions. And Pasha, you're my guy. I appreciate this, and I also appreciate the self-deprecating humor to go with that, man. Thank you so much. AskPasha.com, business attorney, and you can find him out at the Top Floor Legal. So find out more, and we'll link to it here on the Voice of Merrill page at Kogo.com.